On WFLA Now, this is Hey JB. Here's JB Buno.
Words can't say how we feel. Our hearts go out to the family of this young man, and that's all we can say at this time.
A boy falls to his death from the world's tallest freestanding drop tower, a massive theme park ride right here in Florida that opened just 4 months ago. An investigation has been launched, and we're moments away from hearing from the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Hey there, folks. JB Buno here with you live on WFLA
JB,
Now. The press conference beginning.
Right,
let's listen in.
Good afternoon. So thank you for being here. First I'd like to extend my deepest condolences to the family of the young man who lost his life late last night after falling from the Orlando free fall attraction. We can't imagine the pain and anguish that his family must be going through. So our victim advocates have been in contact with the family and helping them through this difficult ordeal. So the young man's name is Tyree Sampson. That's Tyree Sampson, Samson, and he was 14 years old. He was visiting from his home in Missouri with another family here in Central Florida. So the Orange County Sheriff's Office role in this incident is to determine whether or not this is an accident. And based on all of our preliminary investigation and information, it appears to be a terrible tragedy, but our investigation is still open. All other aspects of the investigation, as far as the ride itself and the safety of the ride, that's investigated by the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Affairs. So again, our prayers and our thoughts are with the family, and we can't imagine what they're going through. So our investigation is still open, but I can take a few questions and just know that this did happen late last night, so we don't have all of the information just yet.
Sheriff Backhoff with News 6. We want to know, are you able to elaborate any bit at all about what specifically happened in this situation? I know you mentioned that FDAC is the one that's going to be investigating the safety of the ride, but this had to have some kind of catalyst here. Are you able to share?
Just that it does appear to be just a tragic situation. So all that's being looked at. Again, our role in this situation is to determine whether or not this is an accident or intentional act, and this does appear just to be a terrible tragedy.
Sheriff, have you seen the video that's been online? At the beginning of that video, it looks like someone who works for the ride had some confusion with people on the ride whether or not they were wearing their seatbelts.
Yeah, so we have looked at that video and actually have had that video flagged because something that awful shouldn't be out there in the public. But it's something that the Department of Agriculture will certainly look at, and obviously we'll look at that as we make a determination if this was accidental or not.
Have your investigators talked to the employees? Did they say that everything was normal before that ride went out? On the video you can say the light was on, everything seemed to be okay.
Correct. Everything seemed to be okay and normal, and obviously we've talked to all the witnesses available and all the employees there, and again, that's part of the open investigation.
What goes into the Orange County Sheriff's Office part of the investigation that makes you believe that this was an accident?
Well, just based on the preliminary information, the investigation, videos, witness statements from everyone involved. That's correct. Tyree was here with a friend's family from the state of Missouri. So, again, we can't imagine what they're going through as a father with boys who go on rides and who frequent amusement parks a lot. It's just a tragic situation.
Does the ride have seatbelts?
What's that?
Did you say the ride has seatbelts?
I'm not aware of a seatbelt. I know there is a large locking device that's put over each of the passengers. Correct.
A harness?
Right. Some type of large device that's put over the shoulders. Right.
Sheriff, has there been any reports of any issues with this ride since it opened in December?
So we have not had any reports of any issues with the ride, but again, you know, those are all responsibility of the Florida Department of Agriculture.
So no criminal charges if someone had done anything that was not intentional, but didn't, you know, do the right checks or whatever? What would determine whether or not there would be charges here or not?
So, you know, that's all part of the investigation. Again, it appears to be just a terrible tragedy, and so we'll see, you know, moving forward, you know, what that results in.
Were there other seats checked to see if they were working properly after the accident?
One more time.
Were there other seats checked, the other seats on the ride checked to see if they were working properly?
So again, our role here is to determine whether or not the death that we're investigating was an accident or not, and so that's what we're in the middle of.
So Sheriff, just to clarify, right now, there's no criminal charges. You think it is an accident, but there still could potentially be charges in the future.
Yeah, so the investigation is open, and obviously, as there are, you know, witnesses and videos that come forward, we're going to be looking at all that. But you know, as of right now, there are absolutely no criminal charges, and again, it appears just to be a terrible tragedy.
And was he on the ride with another young man and another young woman? That was them in that video?
It appears that way. I can't say for sure who was next to him at this point.
Sheriff, you keep mentioning that this was an accident. Like, did he slip through? Was it like a locking device that you think maybe wasn't working properly? Was it just, I don't, you know, a certain set of circumstances that, you know, no one could have imagined? Can you just elaborate a little bit more there?
So, you know, we're looking into all those things, whether it was a slip, you know, whether he was conscious or not, and that's all part of the investigation, and we'll determine for sure if it was accidental, which, you know, we believe at this point.
Sheriff, do you know if they had paramedics or anything on the scene at that park, or do they get called in?
I'm not aware of paramedics being. I know the fire department was called.
Everybody good? Thank you, Sheriff.
I think.
Do you know at all, Sheriff, when Icon Park may reopen, or is that up to them?
Oh yeah, you'll have to get with Icon Park about that. So.
And he was eligible to ride this ride, right? He met all the requirements in order to do so?
And I'm not sure. You'd have to ask Icon Park about that. All right. Thank you.
The Orange County Sheriff's Office offering comment after a boy, now we know the name, a boy from Missouri, Tyree Sampson, falling to his death from the Orlando free fall ride at Icon Park right here in Central Florida. As many of you have been commenting and been following along with some of the comments in the Facebook Live comment section, many of you have been commenting about there being this video that has surfaced on social media showing this horrific moment in time when, as the ride is progressing downward at an insane rate of speed, the ride markets itself as being the world's tallest freestanding drop tower, and it reaches speeds of more than 75 miles per hour in a downward direction. And there has been video on social media making the rounds of the moment that we have this 14-year-old boy from Missouri coming loose from the Orlando freefall ride. Many of you have been commenting not to share it. I think that we echo that as well. We're not sharing it here on this broadcast for a very particular reason. It's, of course, extraordinarily difficult to watch, and those who have been watching it, I've seen comments on social media of people saying that they wish that they hadn't because, of course, of just how difficult it is to watch. Again, 14-year-old Tyree Sampson from Missouri, dead here in Florida on a trip with family, here with friends. You heard just there a moment ago. JB Buno here with you live, everybody, on WFLA Now. We're going to get to the latest. We also have an interview that WFLA Stacey De Silva did with John Stein of the Slingshot Group. Now, this is the company that is responsible for this ride. The big thing to remember with this ride is that it opened 4 months ago. This is a new attraction in Orlando, and it's taller than the Ferris wheel. In fact, I think we have some video here from Eagle 8 HD that was shot about an hour or so ago. Our chopper here in Tampa made the trip over to Orlando to get video of this, and you can just see how unbelievably high in the air this theme park ride is. It goes higher than the Ferris wheel, and I have driven by this park. I've never actually been to Icon Park, but the Ferris wheel is absolutely massive. I think we're talking about this being the equivalent of roughly a 40-story building. That's how tall this is. And so, again, when it markets itself for its height, you're talking about a ride that is intended to create a massive thrill, but it's been anything but a thrill in the last 12 to 24 hours after, of course, we have this tragic death of a 14-year-old. Now, Stacy DeSilva spoke with John Stein of the Slingshot Group, who, again, is now going to have to cooperate in this investigation that is being launched. The park ride is closed. Back in 2 minutes here on WFLA Now.
Well, it's an ongoing investigation, and again, we're just deeply saddened and shocked by what happened last night. So our hearts break for the family, and but ongoing investigation, which we are in full cooperation with the Orange County Sheriff's Department and other organizations that will be involved to help us really get a handle on what happened here last night. And until then, the ride behind me here will remain closed indefinitely until we have additional information.
Now, I saw, because I just reported it, that you told some other agencies he was in fact strapped in. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I can't comment on that. It's part of the ongoing investigation, but obviously when we operate our ride, the ride, it has people securely inside the ride vehicle. So beyond that, I can't tell you anything else, and that's why we're doing this investigation.
Okay, so there are safety checks in place, you're saying?
Yes.
Obviously. When did this ride officially open?
It opened over the Christmas holidays just a few months ago.
Can you explain the procedure when someone gets on the ride, what they go through, how they strap them in? Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, it basically, they're seated and everything is checked. We have multiple checks to ensure that the ride is set to operate, and the ride will not operate if those checks are not green lighted. So again, everything was functioning properly when the ride started. What we don't know is what happened after that, and that's why we're investigating to find out what happened.
So I think what you're trying to say is if somebody's safely buckled, if somebody is not buckled in appropriately, the ride would not function.
Yes, I mean that's exactly what it's supposed to do. Yeah.
And it's a seatbelt situation?
No, it's a harness. So
Harness
yeah,
over
yeah,
the shoulder?
yeah.
Okay.
That was John Stein of the Slingshot Group. This is live from our NBC sister station, WESH, in Orlando. They are flying and getting some aerial video of, again, the Orlando Free Fall, a ride that is now closed after a 14-year-old boy fell to his death last night. And here's what I was talking about. That Ferris wheel, I remember seeing this Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel is absolutely massive. It's one of those Ferris wheels that you see when you drive by or you see it in person and you go, my God, that might be one of the biggest Ferris wheels I've ever seen. This ride is taller than that, just to give a little bit of perspective. JB Buno here with you, back live on WFLA Now. What we're going to do is start to take some of your, as we do here interactively, you can use the hashtag on the yellow stripe under my name on the left side of your screen, hashtag HeyJB. We'll feature some of your questions, your comments, but we're going to kind of go through a little bit of what may have happened in these moments that led up to, again, the name being released. Tyree Sampson, for those of you just joining us, a 14-year-old boy from Missouri who died last night at the Orlando Free Fall, falling to his death, riding the ride last night here in Central Florida. Before we start to talk about this a little bit more in depth, if you'd like to read the latest, you can do so right now on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, or one of our Nexstar sister stations websites or applications. Just click on the link in the description on this video. You can do so in the pinned comment below as well in certain places. It'll take you over to our article where you can read the latest, and we'll be updating you with the latest as Stacy DeSilva, our reporter here at WFLA News Channel 8, follows up and gets us the very latest on this story. I believe that Stacy also gathered a statement from the mayor of Orlando, so a lot of reaction coming out because this story is reaching people really across the country and maybe even beyond that, really an international audience. The amount of people that come to Central Florida for fun in the sun and to enjoy the theme parks that we have here in Central Florida, from Disney to Universal. Here in Tampa, of course, we have Busch Gardens, there's SeaWorld, there's countless theme parks. Icon Park is one of those parks that isn't as well known. Most people, of course, will go to Disney or Orlando when it comes to their trip to Central Florida, but Icon Park is known as a place where it's got the Ferris wheel. It has this new attraction that has opened, again, opening in December of this year. It's also got restaurants and bars. It's a little bit of a different experience than some of the other theme parks that are more geared towards rides. This one, of course, as you're looking at video here from Eagle 8 HD, this one really mostly focused on the Ferris wheel and the Orlando Freefall that is now closed. Okay, so let's talk about the actual ride and the ride itself. It's been open for 4 months. That is really, that means that this ride is really in its infancy. But it also means that thousands and thousands of people have been on this ride without any problem, or at least any problem that we have been made aware of. Anytime a theme park opens, there is a massive amount of safety checks that they go through to ensure that this ride is safe for use and safe for the public. So here's what happens with this ride. You get into one of these seats, as we're looking at here from Eagle 8 HD. You get into one of these seats, and there's going to be people out there who are shaking their head like, why are you explaining this? Some people have never been on a free fall ride like this before. So you get into one of these seats. There's 30 seats, and the whole purpose is to, of course, generate anticipation. You're going all the way up to the top. It's about 400 to 430 feet in the air. That's about roughly a 40 or so story building. We're talking way up there. And the idea is to give you an unbelievable view of Central Florida. When you go up this high, you depending on where your seat is, of course, where you are in the circle, you're able to see maybe Disney, you're able to see Universal, you're able to see the Orlando landscape in front of you. Then when you reach the top, and I have this here from the marketing sort of information that they put out in advance of this ride's opening, they say that it then tilts forward about 30 degrees. It's about a 30-degree tilt. And it's designed, of course, then to give you a view of directly down. I mean, because it's about to shoot you down. Once it releases, the ride then shoots down at a rate of speed of about 75 to 80 or more than 75 miles per hour, and then comes to a halt many more feet in the air. It doesn't come to the halt, a halt like right at the ground, obviously. It's some amount of feet up in the air. It will then stop, and that's the thrill of the ride, is going this free fall drop directly downwards, looking mostly downward, and then coming to that halt before, of course, you hit the ground. For Tyree Sampson last night, something terribly wrong happened, and there's been a lot of questions about the type of harness, the type of safety harness that existed. Now, this isn't your buckle type, like the type of seatbelt that you wear in your car, or one that goes across your lap. You can see here from the video, they're harnesses. They go over your shoulder, and they're designed to really keep you locked in. And as we heard there from John Stein, again with the Slingshot Group, if there is something wrong with one of the harnesses coming down over your shoulders, it's supposed to alert the ride and prevent the ride from going off. So what happened in that moment when, because let's make it clear from everything that we understand with this story, when the ride goes up, that's not when Tyree Sampson fell as the ride was shooting downward after the release from 400 plus feet up in the air. So going up, there wasn't a problem, or at least a problem that we're aware of at this time. The problem occurring as the ride released and made that, that rapid descent downward. So what could have happened in that moment? What could have happened with the harness? Was it a mechanical error? Is there some sort of human component? An investigation has been launched, and that is, of course, going to be really at the heart of the investigation. What happened to the harness that surrounded, or that was on top of, this 14-year-old boy from Missouri? So with that, let's now turn things over to our Facebook Live comments. Hello also to YouTube Live. We're also live on WFLA's YouTube page as well. How we do this is we're going to start to take some of your questions And if you just want to make an observation, some people want to have their voice heard as far as sending prayers along to the family. Think about what this family is enduring right now. Their 14-year-old boy dying on what was supposed to be a happy night, a vacation sort of night in Orlando, and they wake up this morning without their son, who died in a terrible, terrible tragedy here in Central Florida. So some people want to pass along comments to the family. Some people would like to make a point of observation. Some people would like to ask a question. If you'd like for your comment to be featured on our stream interactively, as we do here on WFLA Now, just use the hashtag. Now, we had Stacy Da Silva. It was going to be hashtag HeyJB and hashtag HeyStacy. Stacy was there at that press conference asking questions. It's now just me. So if you have a point that you would like to make, use hashtag HeyJB, and we'll feature as many comments as we can, and maybe answer some questions that people might have about this story. But more than anything, I think that people are just in shock. And also, too, this story really hits home for people because so many people have been on a ride like this. And now there is going to be that hesitation from families that go to a ride maybe similar to this. Now, of course, this is a single incident in time with a single ride, but there's just going to be that feeling with especially parents out there when they hear about a mother and father, that the parents of Tyree Sampson who lost their son on a ride like this. So there's just going to be that sinking feeling for parents across the country is what I'm trying to say. Let's get to some of the comments that are coming in. I see a few. Mary saying, hashtag HeyJB, can a person unstrap himself or is it all programmed? This is a really, really key question. I have not been on this ride. This ride is 4 months old. I know people that didn't even know that the ride was constructed because so many people still, with COVID and people haven't really gone, fully back to theme parks, or at least when the ride opened, we were still on the tail end of when the pandemic was sort of bad here in Florida. We had, of course, Omicron here in Florida, and we had a number spike, a case spike in December and into early January when this ride opened. So there's still a lot of folks from other parts of the country that normally would visit Florida this time of year, or folks really in Florida that haven't gone on this yet, including myself. So I don't know, but let's hope that you can't unstrap yourself. The whole idea is that you go into this ride thinking that you're safe. You shouldn't be able to, when you're 400 feet in the air, hit a button or hit a buckle and undo yourself, and because you're gonna fall to your death. And even if there was that mechanism in place, you don't want to hit it accidentally. You don't want to hit it at all. So I'm going to say, Mary, that we certainly hope that you can't unstrap yourself. But it is all based on what John Stein was saying in the interview. Again, him being with the Slingshot Group. What he is saying is that there is supposed to be a safety mechanism in place to prevent the ride from beginning if there is something wrong with one of the passengers' harnesses. So that's let's see here. See, here's I don't want to take comments alluding to the video. I know that a lot of folks, everybody, we'll throw up a couple of these comments. I had a couple of comments in the queue here, people that were saying, oh, in the video you can see this. The video is unbelievably tragic, and just think for a moment what Tyree Sampson's family is going through this morning. The last thing that they want is this video going viral on social media. So we're not showing it, and I would ask others to have some compassion and some sensitivity for the family with this video, because you don't want it being shared or retweeted or posted on YouTube. This is a family that is grieving, and the last thing that they want is this, be on the internet and there being this constant reminder of their son's final moments in that way. So please just think about that. If you've had curiosities about the video, please do. Charvel Brown, hashtag HeyJB, heartfelt prayers for his family. Rest in paradise. And a lot of emojis there as well. Jessica Flores, hashtag HeyJB, prayers for his family, his parents, the witnesses, and this young man. May he rest in peace. So sad. There were a lot of people on the bottom of the ride, probably those who, you know, maybe heights freak them out and they want to watch their loved ones go on the ride. And they witnessed this. So there's that component of it too. You're seeing somebody quite literally fall to their death. And you might have been nearby in that spot when the 14-year-old hit the ground. And it's got to be unbelievably tragic for those people as well, waking up today and just having that ingrained in their brain. So yeah, folks, I see hashtag HJB questions and comments about particular points in the video. I'm just going to just be honest and tell you that we're going to try to not focus on any certain, you know, comments that are centered on the video itself. Naomi says, hashtag HJB, my heart breaks for the people who witnessed this horrific incident, and sending love to Tyree's family and friends watching from the UK. And yeah, this is a story that is going to reach people around the world, because Florida and Orlando, that's an international theme park destination. People who love theme parks will come to Orlando from other areas of the world. They'll travel across continents to get to Florida to enjoy Disney, to enjoy Universal, to enjoy SeaWorld, to enjoy some of the theme parks that we have here in our beautiful Sunshine State. And so, you know, this ride is closed, and I have no idea when it's going to reopen. And when it does reopen, are you going to be the first in line to be on it? Now, of course, they're going to do thorough safety checks, and they are going to assure the public that this ride is safe for public use. But day one, when this opens up, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be first in line. I just wouldn't. That's just, I'm speaking my personal preference. I wouldn't be the first in line to ride this ride, and there's going to be that hesitation that exists for a long period of time. We know that they're going to go through an insane amount of safety measures to approve this ride for reopening. We know that, but still, it's just you're thinking about your safety. You're thinking about so many things go through your mind after a story like this. This is a good question. A good question. I don't know the answer to this question, Katie. I will have to look a little bit more into this. Katie Rafferty saying, hashtag HJB, is there a weight limit on the ride or size? Some people are too tall for rides. Yeah. There are height limits. There can be weight limits on rides. And I just don't know if there is. I would imagine that there has to be a limit for both of these, for height and weight. You have to be properly restrained, and someone who is too small, it's going to be mostly too small. So somebody who is too small, who can't be properly restrained, the last thing that you want is them being put in a potentially not safe situation. So I would say more than likely yes, but what that weight limit is and what that height limit is, I don't know. Some theme parks are big enough where they'll put that information online and they'll make that information very public. Icon Park is not one of the major destinations in Central Florida when you compare it to the Disneys and Universals of the theme park, sort of center of our state. Of course, they do. They attract a whole lot of people that go there for, going on the Ferris wheel, maybe, checking out some of the restaurants and bars that are here, maybe that just want a little bit of a different experience than Disney or Universal or some of the other parks there. Well, so here's the thing, and I will mention the video in this one respect, Steve. Steve Roth saying hashtag HJB. How will they investigate it? Because they do have cameras, or are they going to ask ride operators about it? Absolutely everything is going to be on the table for an investigation when it comes to a child's death, a teenager's death. So the video, it has been shared on social media, and it's just heartbreaking to think about what the family is going through this morning when there's video of that moment. That's just absolutely gut-wrenching to think about from the family's perspective. But that video is absolutely going to be part of the investigative process. When they do their thorough investigation, when officials do their thorough investigation, yeah, that video is evidence as to what happened. The whole point is to correct this problem, find out what and who or what could have been responsible for this, how and why this was able to happen, and correct it. And two, another big question, these when it comes to theme parks and theme park rides in particular, they're not just built in one singular location. Most theme park rides will get duplicated in other theme parks around the world. So this isn't just about correcting it for this ride, but there's other potential rides that maybe are made by the same company where they have to make sure that that everything is consistent with their safety standards. That's why I love water parks. I'm a big water park guy. I always loved water parks. I lived near one growing up. And that was why when I traveled, and I've been to other water parks across the country, sometimes you'll see the same exact ride, the same exact water slide is at so many different water parks. It's because they're usually commissioned out to the same companies, or the same designs are used in principle to make that. It's very similar to this. So they have to make, the Slingshot Group not only has this ride to consider, but any other potential. I don't know if there's any other comparable rides to this, but if there is any comparable rides with the same harness or the same seat or the same release mechanism, all of these things, they have to make sure that it's safe across the board for the entire company and the entire distribution of their product. So they're going to ask ride operators about it. They're going to look at any and all video. They're going to do a thorough examination of the seat, and not just that seat and not just that harness, but every seat and every harness. It's going to be a massive investigation into determining what happened when the 14-year-old boy from Missouri, Tyree Sampson, fell out of his seat and fell out of his harness as he was speeding down in that rapid descent at 75 plus miles per hour. So, we will of course, reading just some of the comments here. I got Facebook Live up right here. I've got YouTube Live up here as well. We'll, of course, at WFLA, we're going to follow up on this investigation and let you know how it progresses, anything that we find out. But I will tell you, normally with an investigation such as this, you find out about the investigation beginning, and then you find about the results of the investigation. There usually isn't too much intermediary information that is given out to the public. It's usually conducted behind closed doors. Teresa Sinelli saying #KJB, what exactly happened? Really quickly, 14-year-old boy from Missouri, Tyree Sampson, went on the ride, went up. He was restrained at some point in the ride, as we understand it. And then, because the ride, as we understand it, it's designed to not go up unless you're properly restrained. It's got to be properly, the restraints and the harnesses have to come down properly for all 30 seats. Otherwise, the ride is not designed to properly to go up and progress. As the descent is happening downward at a high rate of speed, at some point he comes loose and falls to the ground to his death. It's a terrible story. And again, if you'd like to read the very latest about it, if you want just kind of the nuts and bolts and you want to read about it for yourself, just click on the link in the description of this video. It'll take you over to WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We'll go to we'll make this kind of a last call for your questions and comments. If you have any questions or comments, we'll do our very best to feature them. If you don't want your name and your profile picture on a news live stream like this, just don't use #KJB, and we'll let your comments scroll on by. If you do want your voice to be heard, just use the #KJB, and we can feature your comment on screen. As I'm reading through some of the comments. Yeah, I have seen this put out, and I will just reference this, and this is going to be part of the investigation. And this comment has been made multiple times, so I'm just gonna bring it up. Brittany J says #KJB. The employees that operated, they know that they were supposed to check all the straps are done. That's a check mark emoji there on the person before starting the ride. I believe what happened was they did not strap him in, and I thought that they did have. And I thought that they did. I have been on them multiple times. Yeah, I think what Brittany's saying, that she's been on maybe this ride or rides similar to this multiple times, and this is what is supposed to happen. What's supposed to happen when, of course, you go on a ride like this sort of ride is relatively common. The difference with this one in Orlando is that it is 4 months old, and it is said to be, again, I want to repeat this from the marketing material, the world's tallest freestanding drop tower. So there are other rides like this. The free fall ride, when you shoot directly down or nearly directly down from a high point in the air, but this one is saying it's the tallest. So people are commenting and saying that they have been on rides very, very similar to this. Yeah, I was looking into this a little bit too. John, I'm going to bring up John's comment here. Saying, hey, JB, the harness appears to be very similar to roller coasters, where it's a fixed V-shape, heavy metal plastic thing that goes down your chest and over your shoulders. Yeah. And then, of course, you know, that style of harness is there. You know, they're going to have to do a very, very thorough investigation to what happened with this harness in this seat. It didn't happen with other people on this ride. It happened with one seat with one harness, and that one is going to have to be thoroughly investigated. But yeah, that style, that over the shoulder, how many people have been on roller coasters or rides where you do get, you know, flung around quite a bit, and you're in a very, very similar mechanism of harness? It's extraordinarily common for theme parks, not just in Florida, around the world. So, again, they're going to have to do a thorough investigation. Yeah, Jay is commenting saying, hashtag HJB, several people are criticizing others for not jumping in on first aid. I'd like to point out that they were mostly likely in shock, and it's not normal for people, civilians, to jump immediately into action. They probably didn't even know what to do. Absolutely. Of course, just think about it from the witness perspective, just the shock that occurred in this moment. Just absolutely, yeah, it's the last thing that you would ever expect, is that sort of tragedy happening right in front of you, right in front of your very eyes. So just wanted to give Jay's comment a moment there. Yeah, again, to this comment, I'm just trying to get in as many as we can before we end our live stream. Andrea is saying, hashtag KJB, was it a faulty seatbelt, or was it based off of the young man's weight? And this applies to, let me explain this comment. This ride, and rides are designed and have these safety measures in place for you to meet certain requirements to be on that ride, because it's for your own safety. You have to be of a particular weight. Of course, there's weight restrictions, and there's also height restrictions. This isn't done to keep people from having a good time. This is done for the safety of the person on the ride and those around him or her. So we don't know. But here's the thing: you're not supposed to get on the ride if you don't fall within the guidelines for the ride when it comes to height and weight. So you're not supposed to be on the ride to begin with. We have no idea. I noted earlier in the stream, we're yet to find out. We're just now working on this story. Stacy DeSilva is over there at the ride right now, asking all these questions. But weight and height, like were there any weight restrictions? What are the weight restrictions? What is the minimum height to get on this ride? So on and so forth. We don't know those particulars yet. And we also don't know the particulars on the 14-year-old that died. That will likely come out in time, and will be, of course, part of the investigation, a thorough part of the investigation. And to Andrea's first question, was it faulty seatbelts? That is really the biggest question of all. What happened here? Was it somebody slipping from beyond that harness, but it's not designed to do that. You're not supposed to be able to wiggle out of this. You're not. These rides are designed so that you are locked in, and even if you're going up, if you're on the way up 400 feet in the air and you're having an inner freak out moment and you are screaming to the world that you are terrified beyond belief, there's the quickest way to get down is by going down and progressing through the ride. So you're going to go up, you have your freak out moment, and then you fly downward and the ride is over. You're not designed to be able to stop it or get out of it. You get in, you go up, you fly down, and you're done. That's the ride. I think that there are some versions of this ride where there is that mechanism that goes, up and down, and it's not just, sort of that jolt downwards. I think that there's other versions. There have been other designs of this style of ride, but you're not with the harness thing. You're not supposed to be able to get out of it, period. Any way. There isn't supposed to be any way for you to wiggle out, and there isn't supposed to be any mechanism for you to release yourself. That's the bottom line when it comes to rides like these. One or two more before we get going. That's another thing too. No, I'm really happy Olga pointing this out too. Rides also do have health recommendations that are put out. And if you have a particular health condition where you shouldn't be on a ride for a particular reason that is related to your health, that is also true. How many times have you been on a ride or you've been in line for a ride and you'll see warning signs that will tell you, if you are an individual that suffers from XYZ medical condition, we recommend that you don't ride this ride. So many rides I know of now in Disney and Orlando and various theme parks here in Florida, a lot of them have flashing strobing lights, and they put out, this is just one example, but anybody who has sensitivity to strobing lights, flashing lights, that might suffer from seizures as a result of that are asked, don't go on this ride. So health restrictions also come into this as well. But again, we're just now starting really our reporting on this story. I really encourage folks to look out for Stacey De Silva's reporting tonight. She's going to do a much more thorough job. She's there right now. She was at the press conference asking questions. She's also stopped by the ride itself. So we're gathering information. We're trying to answer questions that so many of you have asked. You're asking the right questions, and that's why we do this here in WFLA Now. You're asking the pertinent questions when it comes to a story like this, and we're trying to get you answers. Again, one or two more before we got to wrap up. Let's go over to YouTube. Hello, Dana, Massey, Julie, Shay, Patty, Shadow on YouTube. Hello to everybody joining us. I was just taking a lot of questions from Facebook because we do have a lot of folks watching on Facebook. I can't, to Jay Stanton, can't really answer that question. Amelia saying, and we'll bring up this comment, this one coming in from Amelia on YouTube. I want to bring this up because I think that she's making a very valid point here. And here is her comment. Amelia says, #HAB, it shouldn't matter the weight as much as that detection that tells the operator that everyone is securely strapped in. If there were restrictions not met, that's the fault of the operator. Right. So we've been talking about all these mechanical things that could have gone wrong. And it's always easiest to just blame technology, right? It's always easiest to just point the finger and say, a strap broke, or there was a valve that didn't properly rotate, or there was this certain mechanism that didn't operate in this one seat because of wear and tear. You can't really blame wear and tear. This first and foremost, because this is a ride that is only 4 months old. But Amelia pointing out here that there is it is also part of the operator's, no, it's the central part of the operator's job to ensure that everyone on there is supposed to be on there and doesn't have any safety complications. So the operator is absolutely going to be the subject of this essential part of this investigation, whoever that operator is. And also, too, a big question, how many people operate this ride? This is also another part of the equation. Sometimes you'll go to theme parks and it's one person hitting the button. One person doing safety checks. They'll do all the safety checks, then they'll come back and they'll then, go to the control panel to operate the ride itself. I'd be surprised if this was one person. It was probably multiple, two, maybe more, depending on, of course, but we will find out. We will find out. Again, as we ask these questions, we'll try to find out how many people were operating the ride and what the restrictions were, all of these very, very pertinent questions. Maybe we'll try to get one more in from YouTube. Victoria, we'll get this one on screen. Well, I'll just address it. Victoria is saying, how high was he when he fell? It's difficult to say. He wasn't all the way up. We know that. He wasn't all the way up in the air. It happened as the descent, as the release was occurring, that momentum, that rapid descent downwards. During that moment in time, that's when he came loose. How high he was, the number of feet that he was off the ground isn't exactly clear. We don't have that information at this time. Folks, really appreciate you joining us here on WFLA Now. We could answer, I could probably spend a couple of hours taking questions, but we do, of course, we have a lot of news to cover here in Central Florida, here in the Tampa Bay area today, in the Sunshine State. We've got a lot more coming on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, a lot more stories that our team is working on. But if you're paying attention to this story, give a follow to Stacy Da Silva. She's one of our reporters. She covers Polk County, but she's in Orlando today covering this story. Give her a follow at WFLA Stacy on her social media accounts. And the latest is coming from her reporting tonight in our newscast. Our NBC station, of course, in Tampa Bay is us. That's WFLA News Channel 8. And if you miss it on TV, it's online tonight on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. You can click on the link in the description on this video, and it'll take you over to WFLA.com, the WFLA app, where we have the latest for you. Again, just a tragic story. 14-year-old Tyree Sampson from Missouri falling from the Orlando freefall at Icon Park, losing his life last night in what was supposed to be a night of fun and joy at Icon Park turns to a tragedy, and it was a death that was witnessed by many people who were there in attendance at Icon Park. We're going to stay on this story, bring you the very latest, try to answer many of the questions that you have, and all of those questions will be we'll try to get them answered for you, and all of our article content is on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. And again, if you're joining us on social media, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, you can click on the link in the description on this video. I'm JB Buno, folks. More ahead in the hours ahead on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. Hey folks, JB here with you back on WFLA Now. We were about to quite literally hit the button to end our live stream on Facebook and on YouTube, but a photo just came in. I told you that Stacy De Silva, our reporter, give her a follow at WFLA Stacy on social media. I told you that she was there at the ride. They just now took the seats of the ride that, of course, all the seats, they've brought it down. I want to bring this here to you and show you, if we can. Yeah, there it is. So they have covered one of the seats with a black covering, and you see it there in the center of your screen. And maybe we can kind of blow this up and kind of show you guys, because this literally came in about 25 seconds ago, so this is just happening now. We don't have a live video feed to show you, but this just came in via email from Stacy. So I want to show this to you guys before we end the stream itself. So take a look. Let's see if we can blow this up and make this as big as possible. And there it is. So that is the black covering. It looks as if, to me, that they have removed the seat. That's what it looks like to me, that there are all these seats in this circular formation, of course, for the ride, and one of them is no longer there. So while we're live for just a moment or two longer, I just kind of wanted to show this to you guys because it just came in, and we're going to publish these images. We have some other images too, as the ride was just lowered, and now the investigation, I mean, really underway to figure out exactly what happened to Tyree Sampson. But Stacy just kind of alerting me in an email saying, hey, you might want to look at this, and saying that that there is one seat that appears to have been removed, and there is a black covering now in its place. Maybe just the headrest section of it was removed. It's hard to see here. Maybe the backing of the seat itself was removed, but you can see up there, actually right here towards my head, you can see that there's a headrest on that one and the one all the way to the right. All of them have headrests except for the one that appears to have been either removed or altered, and now a black covering is in its place. So again, wanted to pop with you live on stream just to get that one little piece of information out there. Again, the latest for you on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We'll continue to update this story with more information and images and everything that we have on this story and all of our reporting. It'll all be there for you on WFLA.com, the WFLA app.